Hey guys, Tyler with Independence Overland. So real quick, I wanted to go over some of the newest, latest, and greatest about the Tacoma that's coming out. And this is, of course, from an Overland perspective, but some of this will apply to everybody else. So there are some leaks coming out from somebody that I would consider a trusted source, just because if you go across the forums, across the internet, he gathers information from people within the industry. And so far, it's proven to be pretty accurate. Go through and check out my first video that I did on this truck, because I did cover a lot of the leaks at the time, and some of them are still totally relevant because a lot of the information that I was reading from was correct. So I read a lot of leaks and a lot of information from a lot of different places, and I combine it into one. So anyway, go back and check out my other video, because I did cover a lot of relevant information that I think will be helpful to you. And I got a lot of mixed feedback on that video. Not the video itself, but the truck itself. A lot of people aren't happy with what Toyota's doing. Anyway, we'll touch more. The information he has is saying that Toyota is going to unveil the 2024 Toyota Tacoma somewhere around the week of April 4th. Of course, it's possible that Toyota could move this date around. He's checking out of this project. He's not going to leak any more information because it's so close to being here. So the reason I'm making another video on this before the launch is because both you and the YouTube algorithm seemed to like this the last time I did it. I'm trying to grow this channel. So if you would give this a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more updates, because if I end up with one of these, I will be doing a lot of videos basically going from what the truck is stock, and I'll be camping in its stock, and then you will go through the process with me as I build it. There are some new leaks on what I think is going to be exactly what the truck looks like, and as I said in my previous video 2 or 3 months ago now, I believed that the concept vehicle from the electric Toyota show was going to be what the Tacoma actually looked like. That has come to pass, and that is exactly what it looks like. But there's some new renders on that truck, and they are incredible looking. So I'll put those up here. Again, Tacoma 4G, you can go and check some of this stuff out. And these newest renders kind of show it with a stance. In my last video, I was showing the early renders where it sat a little bit lower. Some people don't like the octagonal fender flares. I personally don't mind it. I think it looks just fine. And honestly, to me, I think it looks like it may accept a bigger tire, because I know with like the Sequoias, I've seen a video somewhere where somebody was saying instead of a body mount chop, you pretty much had to unbolt some sort of a body mount. I haven't seen that up close. So it does have similar taillights to the Tundra, which I think look fantastic. Some people may not like that. I really do like that. I'm sure it's going to have a composite bed just like it always has. It's probably going to be a heavier truck if I were to guess, especially the hybrid model. But we'll touch more on the powertrains here in a second, because there is an exciting leak. And I don't know if he's totally accurate on that because of everything else I've heard, but Toyota could surprise us. I really hope they surprise us. I really hope they're taking the off-road industry serious now that the overland industry is blowing up so much. But more on that in a minute. So I do have some concerns on the back glass of this truck, because as you can see in some of these renders, the right above the glass, there's like a fin that comes out probably for aerodynamics, maybe for looks. But I'm concerned for the wedge type campers, if that's going to impede on that, because that'll be a big problem. Hopefully it has enough space, because whenever you're off-roading, your frame bends a little bit, and that's why the cab is never attached to the bed. And so I hope it's not sticking out enough to where something like the Alu cab or a AT Overland type of topper can touch that, but we'll find out. I'm really hoping that Toyota has taken the overland industry seriously. I do think this truck will be able to fit a 33 without any modification. A 35 may still require modification. But if that's not the case, if this only fits a 33, I, with a lot of other people, are going to be very disappointed. And I don't think I will support the truck if it doesn't allow people who do like what we do to put bigger tires on without chopping up their $50,000 or $60,000 truck. These are probably going to be expensive. There's no word on pricing yet, but it's a new generation. The prices are going to go up. Coffee today. It's too early for delirium. This truck looks fantastic. I think it looks better than the Tundra. Some people think it looks just like a mini Tundra. To me, it's got enough differences to where it looks very similar to the old Tacoma, but it's updated. And a lot of people are like, why are they releasing this truck? It looks the same. There's kind of a divided opinion on that this truck looks exactly like the 3rd gen, and there's an opinion that this looks exactly like a baby Tundra. I think it's definitely a combination of the two. And the reason Toyota did that, and I might have covered this in my last video, is because the Tacoma is currently, even though it's got ancient features, it is the best-selling truck, mid-size truck in the United States. So why would you change that if it's not broken? It's a good-looking truck. Everybody loves the look of the 3rd gen, so they're going to try to keep as much of that intact as they can, which I think is a good idea, because they could radically redesign it just like they did with the Tundra, and that was not received well. So David from Automotive Press has talked about these patents, and in his opinion, this four-door is actually the new access cab, and instead of having a suicide door like the last generation Tacoma and the FJ Cruiser had, that this is actually a smaller rear door that opens like a normal door. Based off of some of the diagrams that I have seen online, people have kind of lined up to compare it to the third gen. Not a lot of people are confident that this is going to have more of a truck sitting position than the third gen did, and I'm hoping that that is not correct as well. For off-roading, I get in and out a lot to do a lot of filming, and so that would be a problem for me because I don't want to feel like I'm getting out of a Honda Civic every time I'm getting out of a truck. I do like the stance of the FJ and how I sit inside of that, so I really hope that this does have a truck type of feel to it. So a lot of people are hoping for more rear cab space. We won't know about that until the truck actually launches, and hopefully we see some of that soon. All the new trucks and SUVs that are body on frame now have the TNGA-F frame and platform. And so basically what that means is this truck will have a lot of similarities even with the Land Cruiser, which is cool. I'm sure that they are beefed up a little bit more in the Land Cruiser because that's their flagship truck or SUV. But anyway, it is cool that they are going to share certain parts because who knows what could come of that. I'm sure in the future, people will find new modifications to be able to share parts, and that could be pretty cool. It's a common misconception that the Hilux and the Tacoma are the same vehicle still and they're just rebranded, and that's not the case at all. Of course, the Hilux has a diesel, but there's a lot more difference. Hilux is built for commercial use. It has a payload of like 3,000 pounds. The Tacoma obviously doesn't have a payload like that. That doesn't mean we're gonna get a huge payload here. I think the United States and the way they certify things is significantly different because no mid-size trucks can seem to get a respectable payload aside from the Ford Ranger. The Ford Ranger has a 1,600 pound payload. I do hope that Toyota with this new frame is able to up those numbers because this 1,100 pound payload stuff is ridiculous. Okay, so the newest leaks on the powertrain is very exciting, and this is coming from the same individual, and I don't know if he has information separate from somebody else. There have been rumors of a V6 going back into the Tacoma, but there's also been rumors of a 4-cylinder hybrid and all sorts of stuff. This is from February 22nd, so very recently. For the powertrains, from this leaker's information, here's what we got. So a base inline 4, a V6, an inline 4 hybrid, and a turbo hybrid for the TRD Pro exclusive. So let's talk more about that. The base inline 4. I shouldn't be surprised by reading that. I kind of was when I first saw it, but they've always had an inline 4, it's just nobody really buys that. My friend Jesse's truck has one of those, and if it's the same engine, who knows if that thing holds up to today's emission standards, but it's been a very reliable engine, but honestly, very few people buy that. So the next option would be the V6. Now this is news to me, so this is the newest information, but the V6, you know, I don't know how confident in that I am. Maybe Toyota will offer a V6 for the next several years until the emissions just become too great and they have to get rid of it. And who knows? I don't know if that would be the same V6 from the current truck. I don't know if that would be a detuned single turbo from the Tundra because there are rumors that that's what's going to be in the new Land Cruiser Prado. So maybe these will have a detuned V6. That would be amazing. But what this doesn't say is if that V6 is going to have a turbo option. I really want a turbo because driving at high altitude up here in the mountains, that would help me tremendously going up passes and stuff. The next one is the inline 4 hybrid, and that doesn't say inline 4 turbo hybrid, that just says inline 4 hybrid. So that might be an inline 4 with a hybrid option. It gets it up to basically the same power as our current third gen V6. I could see that happening. And then the last one listed here is the turbo hybrid for the Pro only, but that does not say if that's a turbo hybrid 6-cylinder or if it's a 4-cylinder. So we don't know. We should know in like a month. I think a lot of us are going to rejoice if there is an option for a V6 with a turbo. That would be just insane. So I'm not getting anybody's hopes up. The consensus is that this truck is going to have a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, and then there will be a hybrid option to get that extra power, kind of like what they did with the Tundra. But I don't know the details on that. I just don't want you to get too excited. I think I speak for a lot of us. The TRD Pro, it has the TRD Bro tag on it because it's like there's no real advantage to it. Sure, you're getting a lift and you're getting some badging, and it does look nice, the interior's nice, but there's nothing really more to it. Most serious off-roaders just avoid that model altogether because you're going to be replacing all the parts that make the TRD Pro the Pro. If they take the TRD Pro and all of a sudden it becomes like a significantly more powerful vehicle, now we're talking. That makes a lot of sense, and more people like myself would buy it and still just tear out the suspension. I am pro hybrid because Toyota has been doing it for so long. I definitely want one of the hybrid options if it ends up being one of the more powerful options for the truck. So what I'm hoping to see from Toyota, because 30% of their Tacomas are sold for off-road use. This is information that an engineer at one of the Overland Expos told me. I think they're taking that into account. And so this truck will be far more off-road oriented. And from a recent video that I saw from the Car Care Nut, he talks about the engine, the 2.4 liter engine, and it has a lot of very interesting information. The new Tundra has had some turbo issues and things like that. This engine that could potentially be the 4-cylinder for the Tacoma, if it does end up being the 2.4 turbo, from what I saw on one of the videos that I watched, and I will link some of these below, is that the engine actually has a cooling apparatus. The top of the engine is actually shaped in a way to where it cools down the turbo. So the 2.4 liter turbo doesn't have an electronic wastegate or turbo actuator. It actually has an old school like diaphragms type of system, which is very good to hear. Toyota decided to go with an old design that worked well, so they didn't overcomplicate that part, which is awesome to hear. It also does not have an EGR system, which again is awesome, because that is some of my biggest fears with these newer vehicles. For you guys that don't follow all that stuff or don't even know what it is, doesn't matter. It's just good that it doesn't have it. So there's no information on an electric Tacoma in here whatsoever. It's only internal combustion and a hybrid models. So that might be exciting for some of you. It might not be exciting for some of you. I'm sure the electric will be coming in the next several years, but it's not coming right now. This is only going to be internal combustion, and it's only going to be hybrid for the time being. But this should be out in the next month or so. I would say 2 months max. I'm going to be at the Overland Expos this year. Toyota will for sure have these vehicles at the Expos. I can guarantee you that they're going to want people like me to see these up close. Even if I decide that I don't want this new Tacoma, I will be doing video on the Tacoma, because it's one of my, it's on the top of my list for a vehicle. So I'll be paying attention to it, and I will be doing walkarounds. I'll get underneath the truck, assuming they allow me to, and we'll go through and we'll see if we can find any weak points, stuff like that. And it should be exciting to see. And again, I'm not doing this from the perspective of just a review channel. There's plenty of channels that do that better than I do. I'm looking at these vehicles from the perspective of modifying it, carrying a bunch of weight, and going into the backcountry and going camping, overlanding, whatever you want to call it. They need to be competitive with the Ranger and the ZR2. Honestly, they're never going to be competitive with Jeep, because Jeeps are just, they're a different thing. But they need to allow people to put 33s on these. They need to. It's just the way the world works these days. Anyway, so that's what I have for you right now. I will touch base on this again soon, and I will be doing more video on the Grenadier soon for you guys that are watching and subscribing for that very reason. I've not lost interest in it. I'm just waiting to actually hear information and to hear some actual feedback from these guys. I'm waiting for any issues that truck possibly has, different things on this is an issue, or this broke down, or this is a problem. And then once I actually have conclusive information and I've driven one, then I will do further updates on that, because I know a lot of people are still excited. Try to kind of keep these to a minimum, because this is not a car review channel. It's an Overland channel, and Tacomas are a big part of the Overland world. And yeah, so in the future, I might even do some stuff on Jeeps, because that is another big side of the Overland world. And Jeep's doing some pretty exciting stuff. Got to give them credit there. So if you guys would share, comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff helps out a small channel tremendously. And I will do follow-up soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time. For you guys that are Toyota fans, I do have these shirts available. That's the classic retro Toyota colors, of course, FJ, 4Runner, Tacoma, and then it's got my Independence Overland logo on the side, and then I've got my FJ is the Easter egg on the tag of the shirt. Kind of a cool shirt, but anyway, they're on the website. I'll link that below.